Hey everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us. Today we've got a brand new story to share with you. So let's begin. Mikey gripped the car wheel tight, pulling into the parking lot of the Red Door Bar and Grill. His phone lit up with a text from his wife. Leah, working late tonight. Pick me up at midnight. He decided to surprise her with dinner. He got there 2 hours early, still dusty from his tough 12-hour shift overseeing work at the kids' hospital. Tired, but wanting to see Leah, he got out of his truck. The simple wedding ring on his finger caught the light, a ring he used to think meant forever. As he walked towards the entrance, the neon sign buzzed. Frank, Tank, Biggs, the bar's bouncer, nodded quickly and then disappeared around the corner. Something about Tank felt off, but Mikey shrugged it off. Inside, the usual Thursday night crowd filled the bar. Mikey looked around, expecting to see Leah behind the counter, but she wasn't there. Sarah, the main bartender, avoided his eyes as he came closer. Hey Sarah, where's Leah? Sarah wiped the same spot on the bar over and over before finally saying, She just stepped out back for a break. Mikey's gut, sharpened from his time in the army, kicked in. Sarah's hesitation, Leah's sudden absence, something didn't add up. Without even realizing it, he was putting the pieces together. He headed towards the back exit, passing his old friend, Sam, sitting at a corner table. Sam reached for his arm. Mikey, wait! He shook off her grip, pushing through the heavy metal door into the alley. The sight that hit him made his blood run cold. Leah, his wife of 5 years, had her arms wrapped around Rick, the bar owner. Rick's hands were all over her, touching her in ways only a husband should. Their kiss wasn't just passionate. It looked practiced, like they'd done it a lot. Well, Rick drawled, noticing Mikey. Look who showed up early. Leah spun around, her lipstick smeared. No shame crossed her face, just annoyance. You weren't supposed to be here yet, she said flatly. Obviously, Mikey replied, his voice dangerously calm, the same calm that had kept him alive in Afghanistan. How long? Long enough? Rick smirked, slipping brass knuckles onto his right hand. Leah's been telling me all about your problems. The nightmares, the panic attacks. She needs a real man, not some broken soldier. Mikey's mind switched to fight mode, checking for threats. Rick was bigger and younger, but Mikey had survived 3 tours as a sniper. The alley was small, making it hard to move. Rick's stance gave away his next move. You don't want this fight, Mikey warned. Oh, but he does, Leah purred, stepping behind Rick. We both do. You've been holding me back, controlling everything with your army ways. Always so proper, so controlled. She ran her fingers along Rick's shoulder. Rick gives me passion. Mikey let out a low, humorless laugh. Is that what you call stealing from our business account? Leah's face flickered, the first sign of guilt. How did you? Before she could finish, Rick's brass-knuckled fist slammed into Mikey's temple. The sucker punch staggered him, but years of training kept him on his feet. Blood trickled down his face as he got ready to fight. You see, Mikey? Rick taunted, circling around Leah like he was hunting. Leah and I have big plans. The Red Door is just the start. Once you're out of the picture, we'll have it all: your business, your money, even your life insurance. Should have read the fine print. Mikey dodged Rick's next punch and hit him hard in the throat. Rick stumbled back, gasping for air. But he wasn't alone. 2 more guys came out of the shadows, bouncers Mikey knew from the bar. Finish him, baby, Leah urged, her voice full of excitement. He's been holding me back for years. The fight turned brutal. Mikey's army training went up against raw street fighting. He broke one bouncer's nose, dislocated the other's shoulder, but he was outnumbered. Brass knuckles rained down on him, and his pain exploded through his body. He locked eyes with Leah. If I make it through tonight, he vowed, blood staining his teeth. You'll regret this. Leah's laughter cut deeper than any punch. You won't make it through tonight, darling. That's the point. A familiar voice cut through the night. Police! Step back. Officer Vicky Martinez stood at the alley's entrance, gun drawn. Mikey recognized her from the self-defense classes he taught at the community center. The attackers scattered, leaving him broken but breathing on the cold ground. Jesus, Mikey, Vicky muttered, kneeling beside him as she radioed for backup, checking his pulse. What happened? Through swollen lips, he forced out 2 words. Get Danny. As he started to lose consciousness, he heard Leah's voice arguing with Rick around the corner. This wasn't supposed to happen. The camera was disabled. Tank promised. Mikey's last thought before the darkness took him wasn't of pain or fear. It was a cold, calculating promise. They thought they had killed the soldier in him. They had only woken him up. The steady beeping of hospital monitors measured time in Mikey's room. 3 weeks had passed since the attack, each day bringing new, painful truths about Leah's betrayal. The broken ribs and fractured face hurt, but the hurt inside was worse. Danny Peterson sat in the visitor's chair, his detective's notebook open. They had been friends since high school, long before Mikey joined the army and Danny became a cop. Now, Danny studied his friend's face, swollen and bruised, but set with a dangerous determination. "Tell me about Officer Wilson," Mikey said, shifting in bed despite the sharp pain. Danny glanced at the door before leaning in. "Derek Wilson is deep in Rick's pocket. He's calling your case a random mugging. Security footage from that night mysteriously malfunctioned." He sighed. "Convenient, huh? There's more," Danny continued, lowering his voice. "I've been looking into Rick's past. 3 ex-wives, Mikey. Each one walked away with nothing, signed over all their stuff before the divorce. Sound familiar?" Just then, Melanie, Mikey's sister, came into the room, her heels clicking on the floor. She had flown in from law school, pausing her studies to be by his side. A stack of financial papers was tucked under her arm. "It gets worse," she announced, spreading the papers on Mikey's food tray. "Leah's been draining the business account for months. Small transfers, just under the alert limit. Look at the dates and amounts." Mikey's tactical mind immediately started seeing patterns as he looked at the numbers. "Where did the money go?" "Into the red door," Danny answered grimly. "She's been buying into Rick's business, little by little. This wasn't some quick fling, Mikey. They've been planning this for months. If you had died that night," Mikey murmured, putting it all together, "she would have inherited everything, the business, the life insurance, everything." Melanie squeezed her brother's hand. "We can fight this, Mikey. I've been looking into precedents." No hesitation colored Mikey's voice. It held the same authority that had once commanded soldiers. "Not yet," he said. "Tell me about Rick's family connections." Danny exchanged a look with Melanie before answering. "The Bennetts are old money in Pittsburgh. 12 businesses across Pennsylvania, all legal on paper. Rick's father, Richard Bennett, runs the whole thing. Word is, he's not happy with Rick's lifestyle." A knock at the door interrupted them. Officer Vicky's sister, Clara, came in with Mikey's medication. Unlike the other nurses who treated him with coldness or pity, Clara's eyes held something different, understanding. She had fought her own battles. "Your wife's here," Clara announced softly. "Want me to tell her you're resting?" Mikey's face hardened. "No, let her in." "Danny, Melanie, give us a minute." As they left, Leah entered, clutching her expensive purse like a shield. Her perfect makeup couldn't hide the calculating look in her eyes as she checked him out. You look terrible," she murmured. "Brass knuckles tend to do that." He sat up a little, the pain shooting through him. She perched on the edge of the visitor's chair, keeping her distance. "The police say it was a random attack. Such a dangerous neighborhood, that alley." "Cut the act, Leah." Mikey's voice could have frozen fire. "We both know what happened. What I want to know is why." She let out a harsh laugh. "Because you came back from war broken. Because you buried yourself in work and control. Because Rick makes me feel alive. And the money? Our business account." Leah's smile turned sharp. "Women like security, Mikey. Rick gets that. He has a plan, a vision. All you have is your stiff army ways and your pathetic little construction company." "Had," Mikey corrected, past tense. "You made sure of that." "I'm filing for divorce," she announced, rising from the chair. "My lawyer says I'm entitled to half of everything. Consider it payment for putting up with your PTSD all these years." Mikey watched as she smoothed down her expensive blouse, one he now realized had been bought with his money. "You should have killed me in that alley, Leah," he said coldly. "It would have been cleaner." "There's still time," she mused, reaching the door. She paused. "Rick has friends everywhere, Mikey. Accidents happen. Take the divorce money and disappear. It's your best option." She left without another word. Clara returned moments later to check his vitals, finding him staring at the ceiling. "I know that look," she said quietly. "I saw it in the mirror after I left my ex. You're planning something." Mikey's jaw tightened. "My sister. She saved my life that night. Why was she there?" "Vicky patrols that area regularly," Clara said as she adjusted his fore. "Ever since you started teaching self-defense at the center, the community looks out for its protectors, Mikey. Remember that." Danny and Melanie returned, finding Mikey sitting straighter despite his injuries. "She threatened me," he informed them, his voice unwavering. "She's using Rick's connections as leverage." Melanie started pacing. "We can use that in court." "No courts." Mikey's decision was final. "The system is rigged. We do this my way." Danny raised an eyebrow. "Your way." Mikey spoke with a sharp, determined tone. "Leah and Rick think they're playing a game of chess, but they don't know real strategy, real battle. They expect me to give up." His eyes darkened. "Instead, I'll take everything, legally, carefully, and completely." You'll need help, Melanie pointed out. I'll need information first. Mikey turned to Danny. Everything you can find on the Bennett family. Their businesses, their weaknesses, their secrets. Especially Richard Bennett and Leah. Clara asked from the doorway, her expression worried. Mikey's expression was lethal. The kind that had once terrified his enemies in Afghanistan. Leah wants to play games with a sniper? He exhaled slowly, his eyes cold with promise. Fine. She just started a war she doesn't know how to fight. The room fell silent as they absorbed Mikey's words. Outside, Pittsburgh's nightlife continued, unaware that a highly trained Marine was orchestrating a campaign more precise than any military operation. Leah and Rick had tried to destroy Mikey the husband. What they were about to face was Mikey the warrior. Catherine Kate Walsh's office showed its owner elegant, expensive, and ready for a fight. Law degrees and courtroom wins lined the walls like trophies. Mikey sat across from her desk, still showing the marks of his hospital stay but radiating quiet, controlled power. Your wife tried to have you killed, Kate stated, scanning the case files. We can't prove it in criminal court, but there are other battlefields. I'm familiar with alternative warfare, Mikey replied. That's why I'm here. Kate's lips curved slightly. Officer Wilson is a strange brother. She had a deep understanding of how corruption worked in Pittsburgh. Leah's divorce filing is aggressive. She's claiming your PTSD made you an absent husband and demanding half of everything. She helped me start the construction company, Mikey acknowledged. She's using that to justify taking the accounts. Smart play on her part. Kate pulled out another document. Not smart enough. I had my investigator look into Rick Bennett's pattern. 3 ex-wives, all following the same script. Seduce, isolate, drain assets, discard. Mikey leaned forward despite the pain. Tell me about them. First was Sarah Mitchell, 2015. Kate began. She owned a successful catering business. Rick convinced her to invest in his first solo venture. She lost everything in the divorce. Second was Diana Chan, 2018, real estate agent. Same pattern. Third was Michelle Rodriguez, 2020, personal trainer. Notice the trend? Successful women with money. Mikey analyzed. And skills that could benefit his business, like Leah's accounting background. Exactly, Kate's smile sharpened. But here's where it gets interesting. All 3 signed eerily similar divorce agreements, almost as if they were forced. Mikey finished. Rick's police contacts are all over Michelle Rodriguez's case. Especially your brother's fingerprints, Derek's. Kate's tone held a hint of old resentment. He thinks his badge makes him untouchable. Family dinners are tense. Mikey took it in, adding it to his mental strategy. What about Rick's father, Richard Bennett? Kate pulled up another file. Old-school businessman, built Bennett Hospitality Group from one bar into a regional empire. Catholic, traditional, big on family name, and terminally ill. Mikey's eyes narrowed. Terminal. Doctors give him 2 years at most, she confirmed. Rick stands to inherit everything. Kate studied Mikey's expression. Unless something makes Richard question his son's character. Mikey's phone buzzed. A message from David Rodriguez, his Army intelligence contact. Excuse me, Mikey said, reading the text. His expression changed. My source found something interesting about the Red Door's head bouncer. Tank Biggs. Kate made a note. The one who disabled the security cameras? Apparently, Tank has a gambling problem, owes money to some dangerous people. Kate put down her pen. And you're thinking of acquiring that debt? Mikey's expression didn't shift, but the steel in his voice was unmistakable. Rick and Leah tried to kill me and take everything I built. His tone held the cold precision of a sniper choosing a target. I'm going to return the favor, legally, completely, and using their own methods against them. It won't be cheap, Kate warned. Or quick. I have resources they don't know about, Mikey replied. Kate studied him as he stood, controlling his movements despite his injuries. Leah thinks she married a simple construction worker with PTSD, he continued. She forgot what I did in the Marines. And what was that exactly? Kate asked. Mikey's face gave nothing away. My job was to eliminate threats, cleanly, permanently, and legally. He reached for the door. Leah and Rick thought they were the hunters. They never realized they might be chasing something more dangerous than themselves. Kate's laughter followed him out. This is going to be entertaining. Oh, and Mikey, Isabel Gonzalez, the bartender you mentioned? Have her call my office. Sexual harassment claims are a specialty of mine. Mikey nodded, already planning his next move. As he stepped into the elevator, he called David Rodriguez. Tank Biggs's debt, he instructed. All of it. And David, make sure he knows who owns it now. The pieces were falling into place. Leah thought she had wounded him. Rick thought he had broken him. They were about to learn the difference between a husband's anger and a warrior's vengeance. Mikey Donovan hadn't survived 3 tours by being predictable. The war had begun, and this time Mikey had chosen the battlefield. Philadelphia's business records showed that Mikey Donovan had officially moved his construction business out of state. At the Red Door, Leah and Rick celebrated, champagne flowing as they toasted their supposed victory. Neither noticed the quiet man in a maintenance uniform watching from 3 tables away, memorizing their habits. 3 blocks away, Mikey's small apartment looked nothing like the home he had once shared with Leah. One room was dedicated to intelligence, a wall covered in surveillance photos and documents, every connection mapped. His burner phone buzzed. Danny Peterson. Mikey. Secure line active. Richard Bennett's medical records came through, Danny reported. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Doctors give him 18 months tops. After that, Rick inherits the whole Bennett empire, unless we change the old man's mind about his son. Mikey said, studying a photo of Richard Bennett leaving church. Danny sighed. How's our friend Tank Biggs? Desperate, Mikey replied. Bookies are threatening his family. He'll crack soon. A second phone vibrated his Army network line. David Rodriguez had assembled a team of former squad mates, now private security and investigators. They watched the Red Door around the clock, documenting every illegal act. The apartment door clicked open. Clara Martinez stepped inside, still in her nurse's scrubs after a long shift. Their relationship had grown from caregiver to trusted ally, her own experiences with betrayal giving her a unique understanding of Mikey's plan. Isabel Gonzalez called, she announced, setting down her bag. She's ready to talk about Rick's harassment. Mikey nodded. Get her in touch with Kate Walsh. We need everything documented properly. Leah's been promoted to general manager, Clara added, her voice tight with disgust. She's already making enemies. 3 bartenders quit last week. Perfect. Mikey pulled up surveillance photos of Rick entering the Red Door's office late at night. Angry employees make excellent witnesses. Any link to the harassment complaints? 2 of them, Clara confirmed. Both women Rick hit on. He promotes attractive female staff, then makes moves. If they say no, Leah writes them up until they quit. Mikey's grip tightened on his phone. Document everything. Names, dates, witnesses. Kate will need it all. His screen lit up with a new text from Sam. They are fighting again. He's drinking heavily. He just threw a glass at a customer. Rick's cracking. Mikey's expression remained neutral, but there was a dangerous satisfaction in his eyes. Phase 1 was destabilization. Make them paranoid, off balance. Now we start dismantling their support structure. He pulled up an email from Kate Walsh outlining their legal strategy. Small claims, health code violations, noise complaints, death by 1,000 cuts. Each investigation would drain their money and their reputation. What about Leah? Clara asked softly. Mikey's voice carried no emotion. She chose her side. She'll fall with him. A knock interrupted them. David Rodriguez entered carrying a thick file. You're going to want to see this, brother, David said, spreading documents across the table. Rick's been cooking the Red Doors books for years. And guess who helped him structure the fraud? Mikey answered, scanning the papers. Eloise Bennett, Richard's wife. David nodded. She's been stealing from Bennett Hospitality Group. Rick helps hide her theft, and she protects him from his father's anger. But with Richard dying, they'll need to cover their tracks, Mikey finished. Which makes them vulnerable. Clara studied the complex financial records. How did you get these? Margaret Blake, David replied. Richard's private nurse. She's been watching Rick destroy his father's legacy for years. She wants justice. Mikey absorbed this information, adding it to his mental battle plan. Set up a meeting with Margaret and David. Get me everything on Richard Bennett's Catholic faith, his charity work, his church connections. You're going after the old man's conscience? Clara asked. Rick's trying to ride out the clock until his father dies, Mikey said, his voice carrying the cold precision that had once made him a legendary sniper. We're going to make sure Richard Bennett's last act is disinheriting his son. Clara touched his arm gently. You're not just taking Rick's inheritance. You're taking everything he values. Mikey's expression showed no remorse. Fair exchange. He tried to take my life. His burner phone buzzed again. A new text from Sam. Tank Biggs spotted at St. Michael's Church. Same mass time as Richard Bennett. Mikey allowed himself a small smile. Tank's gambling debts had made him controllable. His guilt would make him useful. Soon, he would accidentally encounter Richard Bennett after mass. His conscience heavy with secrets about Rick. The pieces are moving, David observed. They are, Mikey agreed, studying his wall of evidence. Rick and Leah thought they had won. They didn't realize the game had only just begun. Margaret Blake adjusted Richard Bennett's morphine drip with practiced care. After 30 years as a private nurse, she recognized the signs of a man wrestling with more than just physical pain. Your son called again, she mentioned carefully. Shall I tell him you're resting? Richard Bennett's gaunt face tightened. Rick can wait. I need to review these audit reports, Margaret. Something isn't right with the numbers. Margaret shared a glance with Mikey, who sat quietly in the corner, pretending to be a visiting financial advisor. Their plan was working. Richard's suspicions about the company's finances were growing. Mr. Bennett, Mikey spoke up, his tone measured. These discrepancies in the bar revenues, they're systematic. Someone with intimate knowledge of the business structured this fraud. Rick wouldn't, Richard protested, though his voice lacked conviction. Your wife and son seem pretty close, Mikey said casually. Richard's face darkened. Sometimes too close. She always takes his side, no matter what. A knock at the door cut him off. Tank Biggs entered, still dressed in his church clothes. His accidental encounters with Richard Bennett after Sunday Mass had become a regular occurrence. Mr. Bennett? Tank stammered, guilt thick in his voice. I need to confess something about the night Mikey Donovan was attacked. Richard straightened in his bed, instantly alert. The Donovan assault had always unsettled him. Rick's explanation about a random mugging had never felt right. Go on, son, Richard encouraged. Tank's confession spilled out. The disabled security cameras. Rick's brass knuckles. Leah's laughter as her husband bled. By the time he finished, Richard Bennett's face had hardened into stone. There's more, Tank added hesitantly. The assault complaints, Rick buried them. The women he harassed. I helped cover it all up because he knew about my debt. Enough, Richard's voice snapped. Margaret, call my lawyer now. Mikey watched his face, giving nothing away. Everything was going according to plan. That evening, Eloise Bennett burst into Richard's room, her fancy perfume unable to hide her fear. Richard, darling. Rick says there are rumors about the company's finances, she began, forcing a smile. Complete nonsense, of course. Sit down, Eloise. Richard's cold tone stopped her. Explain these transfers to offshore accounts. And while you're at it, explain why you covered up my son's assault on Mikey Donovan. Eloise's composure cracked. I did it for us, Richard. Rick needed protection. He needed discipline. Richard slammed his hand against the bedside table. I built this company on integrity. Now I find out my son is a thug and my wife is a thief. If you just listen, I've listened enough. His voice turned frigid. My lawyer is rewriting my will. Rick will receive a modest monthly allowance. Nothing more. The company goes into a trust managed by a board of directors. You can't do this. Eloise's shriek echoed through the room. Rick is your only heir. Not anymore. Richard's expression was merciless. I'm also establishing a foundation for abuse survivors. Margaret will manage it. Mikey slipped out during Eloise's inevitable meltdown, his phone already buzzing with updates. Rick would learn about his disinheritance soon. The real chaos was about to begin. Thanks for listening. This story isn't over yet, and things are about to get even more intense. Stay tuned for the next part to see what happens next.